Hello, hello, welcome back, one and all, once again to the Welsh Esports League week two, third round of the Esports Leagues. I am Brett, and this is my dear friend here, Minicon, and we are here to cover you through the action again today. And of course, we want to thank our sponsorship for putting up this event and being here to put forward a prize pool as well for the players, and part of the reason why they're here. And I'm personally quite excited to vouch for Prevent, having worked in schools and seen some of the support they do. So I'll go ahead and read their bit, and hopefully it'll inspire you to see what they're trying to work towards here, because they prevent, to aim and safeguard and support people susceptible to radicalization so they do not go on to commit terrorist offenses or support others to do so. Radicalization to them is the process by which someone is encouraged to develop extremist views or beliefs in support of terrorist groups or activities. And if you have any concerns about someone you know, speak to a trusted family member, a teacher, or tutor in the first instance. So thanks again to Prevent for helping us support the EsportsWales scene. And without further ado, we'll see, because our first game of the day is Wolfhounds versus Swans, whether they can prevent the three-way tiebreak and get themselves a win. Well, preventing themselves from going the 0-2 and cause the three-way tiebreak, I should say, as well, against the Swans, our first match of the day.
Absolutely. No, super excited for this one. Wolfhounds taking on the Swans. We had the pleasure, I would say, of watching the Wolfhounds play last week. It was an exciting game, especially in terms of the draft. We had a new support, which was very smartly countered by a Jana on the side of the Robins. But it does give us a little bit of excitement, an inkling into the Bucks possibly here for the Wolfhounds in terms of what they could bring out. Very excited to see how that all pans out. But as you say, Wolfhounds are 0-1. The Swans, their opponents today, are 1-0, and I'm sure are looking to wrap it up nicely with a 2-0. But as we say, can the Wolfhounds get in the way, cause a little bit of a raucous, and make this group all but chaotic? So I'm very excited to see if the Wolfhounds are ferocious and if they're ready to take this game to a 1-1. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited for this game. How are you looking forward to the first game of the night, Brett?
I'm quite excited. I mean, I spoke to the guys in Wolfhounds earlier when they realized they had already sent me the op.ggs because Swans hadn't. So I'm going to be all out, fervently supporting here the Wolfhounds, because they've been good to us. And I think the first game was a fun watch as well, and I'm grateful for that. I quite liked what they were doing the first half of the draft. I love the Poppy they were bringing out, as well as the Shen. Two picks I think do super well at this kind of level of play, especially when you're trying to play up the curve. These champions can flip a game and really punish mistakes. The Nunu was the spice of my life that day twice as well. I was really treated. I hate playing it, but watching it, it's great. You can remove yourself from the tilt. So for me, I think what I'm really keen on here is the draft as it unfolds before us, and seeing what the Wolfhounds can do to perhaps improve on their plan last time against here the Swans, who are potentially one of the favourites or dark horses for this tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you say, as we head into draft now, the first set of bans have come through, and unsurprisingly, that Jana is banned out there because very much a counter for that Nunu. Are they vying into that again, or do they just think Jana is a very solid support? Of course, with the Tornadoes, with the Monsoon, with the Shields, a very solid support indeed. But as we can see as well, two bans coming out for the mid lane, Syndra and Orianna. Syndra was played last week on the sides of the Robins, so they're not looking for a ferocious mid laner with Syndra. But of course, the Swans, might not be worrying too much about losing out on a Syndra and an Orianna, but they, as you can clearly see, are worrying about a potential mage in the mid lane. So we'll have to see how that plans out for the side of the Swans as they head into the mid lane looks here. But as we can see, we've got an Ezreal and a Lee Sin picked up here. I imagine the Viego going into the jungle being hovered at the moment. But so far, nothing crazy coming out with these picks and bans. But things will start to take shape as we head into the next phase of picks and bans.
Yeah, I quite like what the Swans have done here, right? It's telegraphed two different polarizations to me. We're going to have a nice, safe, cozy bot lane, and we're going to have the most explosive coin flip jungle potential possible, right? It just screams two different mentalities like this early in the draft. I normally feel like Lee Sin is the kind of champion you pick late, but clearly they have healthy amount of confidence to bring this one out. Of course, when it's going in blind as well to the matchup, there are a number of champions in the jungle, I feel like, that actually can do well into Lee Sin, Rek'Sai being one of them, of course, heavily ringed to the ground. Rek'Sai has been recently in recent patches as well. A good point to note, perhaps, why they've banned Janna. The most recent patch has seen changes, potentially stronger changes. I've not seen the results of those. But rounding out the draft, the Shen picking back up. I like it. Good choice. Can't complain at all. And Viego is odd. Now, I hate Viego, but I respect him. Like, I feel like this is the angle for Viego, right? Because if you're behind and Viego gets a reset, it doesn't matter how the first 20 minutes of the game have ggone, because you're now the 10-0 Lee Sin, right? Seems perfectly good for an option to me, and as well, you already know you're playing against the Lee Sin, so I trust in the hands of Phil McPaul here to pilot that one as we round out the phase one. The Corki, safe blind. You already know that some of the other control mages are gone out of the way. You're going to continue to ban those to make sure Corki isn't going to get its first strike procs to Xerath, and I potentially the Azir if Abai plays it. I think I remember seeing an Ari on that OP.GG. If I actually am sat on the right tab, I'd be able to tell you, but those kind of things that can trade Corki in those lane are what I expect Swans to take away here. What are you thinking Wolf fans will want to take away here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we can imagine that a Corki is heading into the mid lane. They've banned out the Malphite here, possibly looking towards that top lane. As we look over to the side of the Swans, they've banned out the Xerath, which was played last week by the Wolfhounds, and seemed quite promising, seemed quite positive. It was great to have that Rite of the Arcane, being able to pick out a kill or at least a bit of damage on either side of the lanes, which allows Xerath being great there in the mid lane, being able to rotate and look to either sides of the map where he's needed. Samira taken out as well, again played from the side of the Wolfhounds, so we can't take away the Swans. They're doing their paperwork, they're doing their research, and they're knowing what is being picked out here from the Wolfhounds in the previous game. So they're not resting on the laurels. They're taking out the champs that have clearly been shown in the previous showing. But on the flip side of that, we can argue that it wasn't the most promising look for the Wolfhounds, so potentially not a bad thing to get these champs taken away. But in saying that, we got an Alawi in the top lane, and again, if an Alawi can get the opportunity to capitalize on the Shen, it could be a 1v5. It could easily be a 1v5 opportunity for a fed Alawi. Haven't seen too many Alawis recently, but
neither.
But it's very much disgusting nonetheless. But as the bans and picks start to come into a finality here, we do see the Cassante being hovered. Could this be a Shen support? It's actually, in fact, the Nunu. Of course it is. The Cassante, the logic? No way. We're not going to go with a great logical top laner. Instead, we might be looking at a support Nunu again. And I'm excited. Unfortunately, despite there not being a Janna, there is a Thresh, which if this Nunu does head into the bot lane, the Thresh does have the Flay, does have the Hook, does importantly have a Lantern, which can mobilize an already mobile Ezreal out of the way of the biggest snowball ever. So, possibly quite difficult to land a snowball on the bot lane. Not to say it can't happen, but I'm very excited to see how it all pans out. Again, I'm just glad the Nunu's come through. I'm not sure what you read. It was great to see it last week, and they're hoping it can go equally as well, if not better, this week in terms of at least providing some entertainment.
I feel like I don't know why I'm surprised. Part of me was thinking that Pantheon was going to end up bot lane, and it ends up mid, which I quite like. Good bit of flex. Wolfhounds, once again, enjoy your approach to draft. However, I am quite aware that I'm pretty sure Swan support is Pelican, and Pelican is definitely a good player, and Pelican is definitely a good Thresh. I don't know the number, but it's pretty big in terms of the mastery score on that Thresh, and I feel like I trust him, especially with an Ezreal in the lane, to be quite safe against that. So to me, it is up to Nunu here to roam around the map and kind of create the chaos that it did last time, which for me is great. I love to see that. That's not a problem for me. I ain't playing this game. Nunu can do what they like. But it is again a concern because last time the Nunu leaving that lane was punished. And when you're running, staring down a Thresh with a lot of mastery and an Ezreal who's very safe, that lane is 1, very hard to attack, 2, can be quite punishing. They have a lot of gap close. Those hooks, if you're not prepared for them, can come out of weird places, even if it's walk up flay. It's going to be my question mark is around this bot lane. I think for the rest of the draft, it seems pretty well round out. I'm just concerned that the Wolfhounds here have kind of cornered themselves into AD. They haven't really got an AP source of threat unless Nunu gets ahead, which is going to make this Alawi quite hard to deal with. She can go second or third item, just armor. There's going to be a lot of ninja tabbies, and that's going to take away a lot of the potential damage, especially from Pantheon with the empowered stunning strike as well. So I like the Wolfhounds. They're going to have to get ahead early, but then again, I look at the Swans composition. It's definitely not as... It's proactive, but it's not as fast as some of the other winning teams we've seen so far from thinking back to week one. Those were fast games. This team comp doesn't look like a fast game team to me, but that didn't stop a Cassidy from scaling. There's no reason that's going to stop an Ezreal or an Alawi from scaling into the late, especially a Corki as well, presuming there's a first strike on that one. So I think both of these teams have their strengths. I think I trust more in the Swans to play the early. I think I trust more in them to play the late as well, and their composition is going to lean towards that second one.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on there. And, it has to be said, as you say, in that bot lane, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult not only because of they fighting up that curve, the Wolfhounds, but, as you say, having that Thrush and Ezreal in the bot lane. Ezreal, I'd honestly say, as an AD carry main, is one of the strongest, if not the strongest AD carry right now. Incredibly menacing. What makes him even more menacing in this composition, as you've said, he's one of the very few supports that can very easily lean into armor with the Frozen Heart. And at which
as point he can lean to his Zhonya's if he wants as well.
Exactly, and he becomes incredibly difficult. And the great thing is he'll do incredible amount of damage and be incredibly resistant as well, but not only to consider the safeguard and the lantern from his team there. So I think this Ezreal's in a very comfortable position. The Kai'Sa is really quite immobile. When she starts stacking attack speed, of course, she can get invisibility with her supercharge, but at which point it might just be night before they even start to consider building attack speed, because of course that tends to be the second upgrade you get on Kai'Sa. So we'll have to wait and see if that can even be an opportunity if she's being left on her own in the bot lane, because Nunu's off building snowballs and throwing them at mid laners or junglers. Then it's going to be a very difficult time. But I'm excited to see Viego. Anything can happen, as you say. I mean, this Lee Sin, I can imagine, will kind of flex his muscles possibly earlier on in the game, be able to hopefully make plays, jump a few wards, be able to get around quite easily. This Viego, though, does have the potential, can absolutely cause a stun, and that could just be enough there to land a snowball or an Ichithian Rain there from the Kai'Sa. That might just be enough to get killed, and then, of course, you get the reset, and who knows, Bob's your uncle at that point. So it's exciting. It's going to be maybe our slowest game yet, as we're just judging off the complete compositions, but skill does play a massive key in this. But I'm hoping for a slower game, and I'm not hoping that because I just want to see a very well thought methodical game and hopefully get a bit of excitement when we start challenging more Barons, and it's not just kind of over pre-20 pre-30 minutes. We'll have to wait and see though, but exciting nonetheless.
Exciting nonetheless. I think I'm hoping for a longer game as well, because mostly so I can pick up on how you pronounced Kai'Sa's Q, and we can just kind of break that one down. Like, the longer game, the better.
Well, this is it, right? We did not get much chance to talk about any spells, did we, last week? It was very, very quick, and I want to preserve my voice and my lungs.
That's an A, not an I. I'm looking at the LoL wiki. I see A, Ichithian. Yeah, I see you typing. Go have a look.
Let's just
you crack open a tab. Ichithian Rain. Just double check.
I might just say, do you know what? Who's playing Kai'Sa nowadays? Who's playing
Kai'Sa? Who plays Kai'Sa?
We got some input from the production. I'm loving this. Ick, we got it broken down as well. Let's see if we can agree on this. Ick?
Right.
Ick. We got Ick. We can agree on IK.
Yeah.
Ick.
I spent enough time in a year 2 classroom to know how to do phonetics.
This is true.
Yeah, that is how I would do it. It is pronounced Icathian, yeah.
Ick, ath.
Thank you, Casual.
We'll agree.
There we are.
Look
Grow
at
the
that.
code, everyone.
We've cracked the code, and a massive thanks there to the production as well, because doing an incredible job. We didn't get much of a chance to thank them last week, so why not take it now? take the chance to thank them right now, doing an incredible job behind the scenes, really making us look slick and professional. And speaking of
Really
slick
smooth
production,
transitions, yeah, there it is, and even the in-game pan breaking out from that classic over the top. Instead, we get a frog because, of course, it's a safe space here in the Esports Wales, but it's not going to be a safe space on the Rift for long. Poor little frog, it's going to have to rib it away not too much longer as we are on to the Rift for our first game of the day, week 2, Esports Wales round 3 of the league. So I'm going to do a quick whiz around checking all of these summoner spells and the like, just making sure that as well everyone's in the right places and we're not being surprised with an Alawi Thresh bot lane. My heart did sink for a second. Have played Alawi support. Don't recommend it. It was trying to abuse the Draven bug where he could cash in his stacks on the vessel. But beyond that, I feel like everything is as it should be.
absolutely. And the first strike on the Corki, no surprise, but it can't be underestimated. That damage you can get from the ultimate rockets and the gold you can cash in, it's quite substantial indeed. And the variety and scaling there for the Corki might be a bit of a problem, but we got to, even if the Wolfhounds have quite a demoralizing game, at least they look good doing it. That's the way I'm looking at it. Great Viego skin. And great mid skin on that Earth Corki as well. Can't disregard that skin. Not the prettiest, but definitely one of the most iconic.
Yeah, as Corki skins go, right? I mean, you could do worse.
You could do worse.
I think you could only do worse. I mean, the only one's the Corgi, right? Let's be real. I do quite like the Lunar Revel skin, whichever that one's called. Fireworks Corki, kind of thematic for the time of year, in some sense. Kind of the wrong end of the year in the other sense, but moving far past that and linking instead at the summoner spells, I think in mid is perhaps the only thing we can really discuss as, well, not necessarily unusual, but is in a difference with potential here. But speaking of difference and potential, a snowball here creating gravity potential, but there is no real Sun CC up there with the Shield Vault from Pantheon, just that level 1, making sure that first strike does not go too much the way of Corki, putting a little bit of pressure, making sure, however, Kai'Sa going to be okay. Lee Sin invading, which is an opportunity I think missed. There's a deep blue ward on the enemy red, but they won't find out where that Lee Sin is perhaps until much later. He's going to start up the Gromp as well. It's not just the one and gone. He is clearing that top side.
And there it is, that Lee Sin, as we kind of alluded to, very much going on the aggro here early on in the game. Managed to take away the blue buff and the Gronk here, the looks of it as well, which is incredibly promising for that Lee Sin, who got a little bit of support there on his Raptors. As we know, if you've got a little bit of AoE in your kit as a jungler, start Raptors, because that's 4 CS right there in your back pocket. It's a brilliant way to get some momentum here. And as we look towards that top lane, momentum is potentially going to be swayed in one way or another, because there seems to be like a fight happening right here. The Shen goes in, lands taunt.
Yeah, no flash available for the Lee Sin as well as we get into this engage, but there's no flash available for the Viego either. He wades into the tentacles. I'm not even sure what Alawi does these days. I know more about it in the Riot Forge game than I do on the Rift, but we have Pantheon here looking to shut that one down, see what the Shen can do. Twilight Shroud to come in as well, but he doesn't need auto attacks. The safeguard there from Lee Sin, not enough to keep the Alawi alive. I thought it would be flash, Vault Stun as well, plus the Pierce Strike from Pantheon is going to secure that one. So it's a 2 for 2 overall in that exchange. TP blown and flash from Corki as well as flash from Lee Sin. Well, just about flash from everyone on the top side of the map apart from top lane. So it's all go, all at once, again.
That was exciting, and I'm really glad that the Pantheon, had the vision, had the knowledge there to make it rotate towards that top lane, managing to pick a kill up there.
A fine hook, and a 2-man play as well. It's going to spark some action in the bot lane, plus the ignite. Speaking of sparks, and it is now Ezreal racing down this Kai'Sa underneath the turret. It is that animation at the start of the 2019 year, just in retrospect, but the Lantern's going to disengage that one.
Well, we expected the Nunu to be doing a lot of rotations and making it really difficult for that Kai'Sa to lane, but it seems quite difficult for those bot laners to be in lane, even when they're both there. As you say, a gorgeous hook there coming out of Thresh, but not entirely unexpected. Great little Thresh player here. And now, of course, the minions up against the tower. Can the Kai'Sa do much? The hook does go away, but the Flay does land.
Yeah, and the Arcane Shift does far too much damage. The tower shots coming through is enough. The Lantern deceived me thinking there was only one left to come, but instead there were two. So a 1-for-1 trade, which the Kai'Sa will take. Sadly, he's going to miss out on a lot of that wave, but Lunu's happy to eat up their XP and try to walk that one around. In the meantime, Lee Sin not wasting any time getting back into that mid lane after just hitting up that Viego with a second death. Lands the strike and gets the Resonator, plus the auto attacks. Is going to trade his life for it, but again, that is the team missing out on XP, unless, as I say, the Nunu's going to do something about it with that XP. He's going to walk in here, throw some snowballs in the way of Sin. He's got no mana, he's got no flash, and he's got no health left either. And it's a kill for that Nunu.
Absolutely brilliant to see that the Nunu, doing what he does best. Building big snowballs, coming to lanes and causing a few disruptions, but absolutely great there from the side of the Swans. Managing to get another dive. No one's safe behind their towers, it seems here. It is kind of biting them in the backside, though. They're not going totally perfect, which is to be expected at this low level and this early into the game. Healths are very low, and if you're not getting a perfect dive there, or at least not a dive that you plan perfectly, it's going to end up in a potential death there for at least one of your players. But nevertheless, clearly aggression here from the Swans, feeling quite good about themselves and being able to jump into these towers. And looking towards the gold now. It's still very early on, but 2k gold ahead here for the side of the Swans, which is pretty adamant there, of course, for them just having that kill advantage, but also quite a big CS difference here when we look towards these carries in the top lane, 24 to 44. That Alari, as we say, could very much be looking to carry this game if it continues to be quite a big CS difference, because as we know, she's absolutely disgusting. But also the Ezreal there as well, but we'll have to wait and see as the CS becomes maybe more stagnant, maybe more rounded off, but the good cleanse does come through.
Yeah, nice cleanse there, just to make sure that hook doesn't transgress into something else, as the Nunu had just backed visibly in the lane, making sure to punish that one there, so the free summoner can't be making that mistake really again. It's odd here. Alawi, looking for the quick back to base, making sure they get the min-max of damage on the tower there, but it does mean they are free here, the Wolfhounds, to encircle in on Lee Sin here. A nice ward hop, keeping that one spare to get out. So yeah, Wolfhounds recognizing a point on the map where they could make an attack. Good respect there from Lee Sin not to go all the way in. Outlight here, going to check the brush, and is going to find two members of the Swans, and is going to make a fleet out of that feather. So still a continuum of action, a flurry of the camera walking around here. Flash this time, no cleanse available. Good respect there again, knowing that you're probably going to be absolutely dead. And speaking of absolutely dead, I expect this Pantheon not to be able to getting out of that one alive. Does not indeed. As Zoe here looking to make something happen, but sadly a little too late to the punch.
This Lee Sin seems to be everywhere, but also does this
Ezreal
the Ignite comes down.
Hooks, you can't really evade them. Level up, as you say. It's going to keep her out of Ignite range, Kai'Sa, as the engage continues to go on here in the jungle. There's no really cease of action, but here we are. That level 4 Viego is now level 5, and he's now a level 6 Lee Sin, and he's charging forward here onto that Corki. He's going to get shut down. That's Kill God onto Pantheon. Another reset there for the Viego, and this is what we're talking about, this composition. It's definitely aggressive early, and this Pantheon is showing up, and this Viego is piggybacking on it.
Absolutely, and going into that fight there, the Viego was 2 levels down on that Lee Sin, but it didn't matter in the long run there. Levels allow, starting to become a bit more similar there, of course, but as you say, the Viego managing to take over Lee Sin, managing to take over that Corki. Your differences mean nothing when you can become that strong opponent. So very exciting to see how this Viego can look further into this game, taking over those very strong players. But as the game now starts to kind of mellow out, potential here to look towards that dragon. But they're looking here towards that top lane for that Rift Herald. Indeed, the Swans going to get this one here. Doesn't seem much contention to be had here. But we wonder if there will be a cross-map play here onto the dragon. The Nunu is making a move, and it just seems to be hovering around that dragon, potentially getting some vision. Ready for a potential move on that dragon. But as we maybe might not have expected, this top lane is constantly getting shoved in, and has led to a pause, unfortunately. We'll have to wait and see, and hopefully this can be resolved quickly.
Yeah. Whilst we wait for news, I think we can probably try and draw some lines from the current state of the game, right? Because it feels like a lot has happened. As you say, it's beginning to mellow out, and it has mellowed out into a pause, in fact. So, to me, I love the early Herald here from Lee Sin. It's, of course, looking like he's going to dive this top side as the pause does resume, so I won't have to give you any word on how one goes, because it is now resolved. Lee Sin splitting up this top side. Looks like they're intending to sacrifice this dragon because they've not moved any man towards it, which is fair enough. You've got this herald, as we seem to have post-pause. This one I expect might hear about, as we'll continue this line of thought until we get that news. So Alawi definitely being the winner of this top lane so far. Did get donated a kill from this Viego, and as we say it, that herald is now being dropped. Shen can't opt to himself, but Pantheon can. However, Corki potentially can TP up here. Hasn't got that one. I lied. So that's the Drake in for Wolfhounds here. Is what can they prevent in exchange? They get the couple of plates, but this tower's now low. Alawi taking a couple tower shots as well, but the vessel now connects, and this is opportunity. Smee smells it in the water. The leap of faith tentacles is absolutely enough. Leon didn't even lose essence of health, and flashes around their own Ezreal ultimate.
You can never be too short. You can never be too short.
Perhaps they mistook it for a Kai'Sa, Debbie. It happens, I swear. But the result is they're all the same, as we say. Nunu coming in, going to throw a snowball to give Kai'Sa some space to farm some of this under the tower. But I still think that plate's going to go the way of the Swans, and of course it does. So the Swans there, trading objectives and make the most of it, getting the first blood tower as well as putting that Shen a little bit further.
Alawi TP's bot. This is what we see here, of course, with the Reptile taking that T1 in the top lane. It does mean the top laner can start to breathe a little bit more across the map, and they're looking straight towards that bot lane.
Yeah, and here he is. That's the Flay. Still got the hook available. Not going to use it after the Glacial Slow. Alawi creeping forward. I love the toggle here of the vision. Creating a bit of suspense. Corki's in the vicinity as well. Has got that package without. Lee Sin's there as well. There's no answer. Shen ult available. Let's see if anyone gets stood united with. But no, he's just going to fall alone. Stands with that tower. Dies under it. Meantime, Pantheon looking to get some plates in exchange, recognizing they don't have the point in the game to really respond to this five-man preparation. They're going to be fighting into the Valkyrie, but here, Zoe just going to get slapped and punched by the blind monk, who's going to pick up that 300 gold. Pantheon able to pick up one plate, so 2 kills for one plate and 2 plates, but I think is free farm for Shen, but we'll see. Pantheon looking to do something about it. Aegis Shield going to come down, and the back end of that train use the move speed to run away, but just ever so gets away from that hook. But the action doesn't stop here, as Smee is going to take down that Viego. He is indeed heartbroken, and Nunu and Willem look to be heartbroken themselves. No, they're not going to split up and have a horrible death animation, nor is anyone else as that goes right.
And as we can see, the first mythic coming out on that Lee Sin, and you wouldn't be surprised about me telling you that, because he is dealing incredible amounts of damage and really leveraging that lead there constantly in the Wolfhound's jungle. And does get a turret dive, but the taunt does come down under the tower, and it's a very sad ending. But a shutdown on the side of the Shen. Flay, hook, Phosphorus bomb.
Yeah, great shot at Ash. Kept Shen in this fight there, getting that kill and that punish, but it is the rest of the Swans here encircling on this tower, punishing him even further, but of course in the meantime, Alawi not to be forgotten. Oh my god, that demolished chunk was pretty big, eh? Viego doing something happen here, but he's a little bit alone. He's a little bit low in health as well. Wolfhounds kind of just fishing for something here. I don't hate it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But maybe a bit short of members to make that one happen, and is instead just going to end up losing another wave. Oh,
and the Nuni maybe get a little bit overconfident.
Oh, Shattered Ash, just short flash again from Pantheon, able to land the stun, but can they land the rest of the damage? Ignite, and 750 gold in the pocket of that Pantheon. I know where the eggs are. It's that Pantheon basket.
Absolutely. Shutdowns are starting to fall onto the players here on the Wolfhounds. They won't be disappointed with that. And that's the thing, when you get a little bit ahead here in the early game, the shutdowns start to become a little bit of a problem. It's still about a 6k gold lead here for the Swans, with 2 towers and potentially a third dropping here. That top lane tower is constantly being pushed at. The mid lane tower is getting a few tickles here from the Ezreal. But as things now start to come back into shape with the dragon, about a minute spawn. It's a second Infernal here. Oh, and the Archangel perfectly timed there.
Oh, hey, what a Matador moment that was. Able just to angle that one around the wide hitbox of that snowball. I'm quite impressed. I should learn something about that myself. Good to note here the items, as you said before, the Gore Drinking complete, but now looking at some of the first items here for the Wolfhounds as well. Hopefully looking to contend maybe for this next dragon that's spawning, but it looks like they won't get the chance as Philmonk Paul is going to get eliminated. That's a smite down for 16 or so seconds, and that's the next tower gone, which means a lot of this bot side control is swept away from the Wolfhounds. Gonna have to make good use of their remaining tools. Pantheon, I'm not sure if you want this one. You are low in health already, and this Corki has got blue buff. He's got a lot of damage. He's also got a snowball in the face, but it's not going to be enough to deter him, and the rest of the Swans just going to back up here as they find that all of the fish have swum too deep into the waters for them to catch, but they are going to continue to push and wail into these towers.
Absolutely, and as we say, now the second Mythic coming through here on the side of the Corki, and now, as we know, the Triforce basically has every stat in the game, but it most certainly does have health, and as you can see, that Corki is looking quite tanky and quite a bit of a brute nugget to get through, but the dive doesn't manage to come through.
Okay,
does miss.
Measured engage there from Smee, playing on the edge of the limits and appropriately deciding when to vacate the action. The onmet there from Ezreal just short of being true as well. So a little bit of angle perhaps here for the Wolfhounds, but might want to reset first, which of course would be the time for them to get that dragon. It seems they might get it anyway. That Lee Sin is far enough ahead that he could definitely do that one solo, so we're just creating a bit of space. It looks like the Swans for that objective to go down. Herald spawns as well, so I'd expect them to transition up there shortly and start to crack into these inhibitors and make this one quick. We didn't expect it to be this quick, but it has been the case of just rampant action again, and it doesn't seem to cease as there goes that Viego. He would love to get those resets, but he's the one dying. He can't pick up his own soul, sadly, and that's why he is the heartbreak as a Pantheon here looking to make his own story, but it might just be one of sadness as well, as he can't find any purchase there through the Thresh into the Ezreal.
And this side of the Swans are kind of almost forgetting and ignoring their own side of the map. They're thinking, you know what, the red side of the map is old news. It's boring. We're here taking over the blue side. They are constantly in either the bot or top jungle. But it's a case here that the Nunu might have just landed a nice snowball to catch out that Illaoi, but the Illaoi's just a little bit too strong. Oh, and he got a Black Cleaver and a Sheen there. Well, that seems to be enough to keep them deterred from this Illaoi.
Yeah, and those Ninja Tabbies doing work, as we mentioned in the pre-game. Has that cull as well, but now we have more members and another snowball, and that's going to eat a flash, and it's going to eat two flashes on the side of the Wolfhounds that they chase over the wall, past the Gromp, and through the Heartbreak. They're going to look to shut that one down, and that is gold back into the pockets of Shen, who has that stand united ready to go should there be any action across the map. And there's a Grand Starfall and a Lantern, but it is evaded. The hook going to come in as well, but Kai'Sa not really with the help to do much, looking to get onto that Cork. He does get the flash out of him, and there is a snowball the other side of him, and he get out of the back of the pit. He cannot, and that is 400 gold for the Pantheon picked up, and the snowball picked up here for the Thresh. The ult-in killer instinct from Kai'Sa. She smells blood in the threshy, fleshy water, and now it is Ezreal on the backside fighting this 1 versus 4. Lee Sin in the meantime killing the Viego from the top side. That happened, but switching back to the bot lane action, it is 4 members of the Wolfhounds. They're looking to catch this Ezreal. He's got double buffs. What damage can he do? He can do quite a bit. He's got an Essence Reaver, BF, and a lot of cooldown reduction. He's looking to get stacks on his tier, but he's fights a Pantheon and he used for his cleanse. As the Shadow Dash comes in, he can't cleanse that one. Exhaust comes down here onto Smee. They're looking to shut down that 2-item Lee Sin. Can they do it? He's going to dash and get away from that one. For the meantime, he's going to land the Q resonating Sonic Strike, and that is a 9th kill in the belt of Lee Sin. He doesn't need to see his targets. He can smell them, and they are stinky as there is a Valkyrie spilling oil across their faces. Unstoppable.
Package.
Getting straight onto the Kai'Sa, even further onto the Pantheon. Smee picks that one up. One for the Corki themselves, and it is all Swans in the end. I thought Warfans were coming back in, but Swans had better ideas for them.
They were not letting that fight end up as an L on the side of the Swans. They decided to commit a few people down towards that bot side of the map, and they twisted the bait in their hand. But they might not be over just yet. This Nunu under tower. Ward hop.
Yeah, maybe overzealous. The Dragon Rage kick is just absolutely enough to decimate that poor Nunu. Thinking he's defending that tower. Instead, he's feeding the enemy, sadly, but it is now Viego, thinking perhaps the same. He's down 3 levels on both of his opponents here. I don't even think he can step up to this wave for these rockets. There's just powered one on the side of Corki here to go. And it's now up to Illaoi to do the objectives. Lee Sin's having too much fun. And it is looking like the Swans flocking together now, beginning to think about closing this one, I should imagine.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's ever so unfortunate for the side of the Wolfhounds. They've got potential to get picks, as you've seen, but the state of the map is just so much in favour of the Swans, and as you say, they can't even sit under the second tier tower in the bot lane because they are constantly hovering around it. Where is the safe space for the Wolfhounds? I cry. It doesn't seem anywhere right now. Maybe in the Nexus they might be safe, but for long, I don't even know if that will be safe because they are constantly applying this pressure. It's only 18 minutes in. Dragon
Oh,
Rage kick
Smith
does
with the
land.
kickback on Lemons, the lantern ready for him as well. He kind of messed that one up, but he kind of made it work, and it all's good at the end of the day. And as we say it, right, there's potential here for the Wolfhounds to make a pick, and they're going to make a desperate attempt as they are in with the Pantheon. They're looking to get the stuns, and they find two. In fact, the Heartbreak is not going to do much as Viego falls in the action of it. It's now up to the Kaiser. She's not got much in the tank, and it's the Pantheon last one alive having to flash her away. True Shot Barrage going wide. Samsung Galaxy flying across the screen. Can Ezreal do much more? He's toying with that Pantheon in the meantime, allowing unanswered. Oh, it's a upsetting, I think, for the Wolfhounds, because I think they had an excellent chance to get back into the game here, but the Swans just doing so well to group together, playing to their strength. Stand united here is kind of how I describe how the Swans have been playing. It's just a case that Ally has been able to get so much on the map. As Ezreal here in a bit of a tango with Shen, as I say, the Wolfhounds picking up these kills. As I mentioned, when the Swans are alone, they haven't been performing as well, but as they come together, they're definitely a lot stronger, and they're looking to get into this base.
It is incredibly lovely to be this Larry right now. Your 4 players on your team are just good enough and strong enough to be taking over the rest of the Wolfhounds to allow you there just to push that top lane. Has been answered, but the inhibitor tower does fall. I'm sure that Ilari will get a recall and start rubbing her hands towards that inhibitor and start to come to possibly the final moments in this game. But the Wolfhounds are not going quietly into that good night. They continue to take back a little bit of the jungle, hopefully gain back some vision as the 3rd dragon is spawned here. It's an ocean dragon. I very much will be surprised if we do even consider a soul in this game, but the Wolfhounds acknowledge the 3rd dragon being up. Probably guessing there's going to be a Swans jungler on there. And there is a little bit of a skirmish happening here.
The rest of the Swans as well, as you say, a bit of a skirmish. It is Nudu having to face check. You don't have many other options. They're going to try and fight for this one because they might as well. And of course, we mentioned the Wolfhounds. They have that Viego. They can blow up a game if they have to. This Pantheon is not weak by any means, and Shen is definitely a useful tool. We'll see how they use them as they try and get in onto this Drake. It goes low. It goes smitten by the weight of that Lee Sin. It's now up to Pantheon to try and do something, but he is flayed behind his Aegis Assault, and the team is there ready to pick it up. It's Kaiser without really a way into the fight. Is going to get chased down by that Corki, and it is again all Swans able to get that Drake and able to get those kills on Wolfhounds.
And it might just be ace here. Oh no, the Shen is all over. No, absolutely not. And it is ever so unfortunate here. A 1-9 Nunu. I'm devastated. I'm absolutely devastated, Brett. I thought, well, this is exactly it. They're having a bit of fun. They're making great snowballs. And that's all that really matters. But, maybe the Nunu didn't quite work here. But, I don't think it was just the Nunu's fault indeed. But they're looking here towards the bot lane inhibitor. The snowball does come. I just hit a minion. It's not going to be enough because they're looking towards that inhibitor. And I do not know what they'll be able to do here. They've got great poke with that Corki. They've got incredible amounts of health.
And a Herald.
Brett, do you think we can get a Dancing Herald to end this game? I think there's a good chance for it.
There's a fair potential. We'll see if the Wolfhounds have much to say about it. The Viego's already gone, so there's some of that comeback potential evaporating as the Shen is wiped off the mat as well. Flash from the Thresh lands that hook. There goes Nunu. Killer Instinct is not much use inside the fountain, and it's going to have to be flashed away from.
That's a huge TP. Huge TP.
As well as we get shaken up in this game. Going to spiral around and just examine the fountain of the Wolfhounds here. We can get a good look because it won't be much longer that we get to see it as the Swans looking to close this one out. They have a plentiful 3-wave minions of blue to farm. They have tentacles in the base. The Herald did perish sadly, as do the turrets. Next is the Nexus. What can the Wolfhounds do about it but enjoy a little spiral and spin around? There goes an unstoppable Viego. He's down. He's definitely stoppable this game, unfortunately. Though Grand Starfall is looking a little bit meager. That's a hook the other side. Shen is blocking some damage, but is not enough to spare his life. The Swans are pecking out the eyes of the Wolves. They cannot fly. They cannot do much but walk upon the ground and wish that they could fly, as the Swans who say that as there's 1,000 gold go the other way. Morris almost ends one back, but it is in the end a Nexus going the way of the Swans.
43 kills to the Swans. I can't believe it. What a monstrous game. Ended there about 23 minutes. And well, I guess we kind of wished, I'd hoped, keep our fingers crossed for a longer game. But unfortunately, the Swans had other ideas, and they finished that group 2-0 and avoid any possibility of a potential feisty game. With a feisty group, rather, which could have laid down to a potential of our fastest game.
Yep.
Didn't come to that, though, so we can somewhat breathe. But congratulations there to the Swans, managing to finish top of the group, meaning the Robins also go through.
Yep.
But did manage to not beat the Swans. They managed to win one against the Wolfhounds, but lose to the Swans. So the Swans very much looking promising and incredibly, incredibly dangerous coming into the next stage, which is going to be the elimination stage, which I'm incredibly excited for.
Same.
But bringing it back to that game, exciting, exhilarating, and heartbreaking for the Wolfhounds.
Yeah, heartbreaking indeed, right? In the sense, of course, Viego is also called Heartbreaker. Nice one. But in the fact that I think they were so much fun to watch. And I like their drafts. It's just a shame that they were playing up the curve so much. Because I think in that game, right, I got genuinely excited when they were coming back in that bottom side jungle, which was maybe why I punched a little bit too hard on them. It's like, oh, you kind of gave up that lead, but it really wasn't their fault, right? Swans definitely had so much in their wallet that they could punch back with. Ezreal playing at the absolute limit, knowing that his teammates are there. So that's definitely that self-assuredness that I'm looking forward to see coming into the best of threes, right? It's one of those things we talked about last week, is getting to see more out of these teams that are closer in level. And we're going to get to see a best of three out of it. The Swans looking to play against either the Pirates or the Dragons, depending on our next result as well. But before we talk about that one, probably a good time to say goodbye to the Wolfhounds, because we won't be seeing them, sadly, in those best of threes. I'd love to see them again, personally. Perhaps a different pick than the Nunu, but playing the same style, because it doesn't seem the Nunu feels like it's been prepared for, right, by the enemy teams. Maybe it's a case of thinking back to the draft. I think they had side selection in both cases and selected blue, and both times I think the last pick on red side here with the supports, the Thresh and the Janna, definitely performed well into these Nunus, and definitely punishing for the poor ADC on the side of Wolfhounds as well. So some things to think about from Wolfhounds, but definitely fans gained for them. But again, congratulations to the Swans, putting up, I think, our fastest game streamed at the moment as well. So I think I'm excited to see how they perform, because, of course, we've seen the Dragons already, and they had a very fast game last week. We're going to get to see them again next time against the Pirates, who are definitely one of the stronger teams, I think, at the tournament, or probably like the natural favourites, staring across at the Swans.
Absolutely. And I think we got a little thing from production. 2 plates were taken on the side of the Wolfhounds. So, unfortunate in both the kill disadvantage and a tower advantage there with the standing goal. So, now we look back in hindsight, it was a very, very dominating game from the Swans. But as you say, the Pirates and the Dragons on the opposite side of that group stage could be formidable opponents. And I'm excited to see either of them that they get to go against, because, as you say, there is a skill gap between these two teams you had today. Having a potential to see their, knowledge in draft and the sensibility into getting those counter picks, particularly in that bot lane, really come and pay dividends. But we'll have to see how that goes next week, I'm sure. But as you say, we've got one more game tonight that I'm incredibly excited for. Potentially more even. We'll have to wait and see, but it will be the Pirates taking on the Dragons in Group A, and this will decide who gets to finish out the top of that group and vie and punch in the best bet that they can heading into the elimination stage.
Yep, and it's going to be an exciting match to watch, and I think the Pirates and Dragons are going to be pretty going for it as well. Coming out first in the group is definitely a benefit, because otherwise you're going to play against the Swans, and having that look that they've just had, I think that's something you might want to avoid, but it's not something you want to avoid at home. We're going to take a short break, I think, so we can be refreshed and ready for this feisty fight between the Pirates and the Dragons. What a mythical matchup. I love it. So we'll see you the other side to see who gets the privilege of playing against the Swans. Catch you guys in a few. Thank you ever so much for sticking with us. We had a couple issues with the players getting ready into lobby, but they are now ready, and so are we, because we are excited once again for this matchup. Pirates versus Dragons. It is the decider for who gets to come out first in Group A. It is the decider for who gets to place ones in the best of three, and it is all up for grabs, and I feel like a big indicator of how these teams are going to go further down into the tournament. Once again, I'm Britannia, this is Medicon, and thanks again to Prevent for helping us be here and getting this awesome action. So, thoughts ahead of this match, because it is hopefully our best out of this stage.
Absolutely. You know what? It is going to be one of the more exciting games we've had on stream. And the reason is because these two teams are so equally matched. They're both well oiled machines at this point. And, you know, there has been a few tinkers and changes as we head into the draft. I'm sure we'll touch upon it in just a moment. But the TLDR is both these teams are incredibly matched. We've had a lot of games when there is a lot of fighting up the curve. We don't have that in this game. These two teams are very great players, and I'm excited to see how they match up. Both are 1-0, as you've said. They've both won their previous matches. This game not only decides who goes 2-0 and gets to go against the Robins in Group B, but does decide the momentum moving forward. Having that feel-good factor, having that reassurance that you can do this. You know, there's a real potential that if you're beating this opposite team, you can take on the Swans, which, who knows, it might get to the finals. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm really excited. I think this will just be precedent of how it might look further into the tournament. Whoever looks strong in this game has a real good chance of making a deep run into this tournament.
And I feel like that is great for us, because this is not something we've seen before with these best of threes. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and that means so much more when we get this like history, right? We will get a look at how these teams fare against each other, and then they won't meet unless they get there back to the finals. And if they do, we'll have to, you know, have a good look back on this game and pick it apart and all these other little bits of juicy bits we haven't really quite gotten before here at EsportsWales. So again, we'll come back to the point that there has been a slight player change here on the side of Dragons. The top laner, I believe, has had been emergency swapped. And as well, we've been given the information, of course, that Ringo Starr used to be on the Pirates ADC here for the Dragons. So there's even a little bit of a player spice in amongst all of it.
Absolutely. This is exciting. I mean, Ringo Starr is either very excited, very calm, or very nervous knowing that he may have swapped to a team where he might lose. But you know what? I feel like he might have possibly done a good move. So we'll have to wait and see how that plans out. Ringo Starr is a brilliant AD carry and, you know, very well versed in playing that vein, as you can see from his match history at the moment. Very strong AD carry in the bot lane at the moment. So that might come through. A high potential to be so indeed. But I'm excited. Having this kind of personal bout is always exciting in a game. That bot lane might be more exciting than it might have been in the first place, because you've got things to prove. You've got reasons to say, you know what, I've made the right move. But we'll have to see how that all plans out.
Yep.
And worth noting here, the Dragons are on red side. I believe they were on red side for the previous game that we had here on stream. So we'll have to see how that fares, if it'll go into a familiar format. I think there's a very good potential for a casting to come out. As we can see from the match histories, a lot of casting on a couple of players.
Yeah, sadly banned, however, the Cassidon.
Oh, well, there it is. Sadly banned already.
I cannot blame them after that past performance as well, right? That disgusting.
This is it.
On Admiral.
I am not surprised at
Admirable,
all. But,
you might say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just glad with the Shaco ban. This is a personal vendetta. I had a Shaco in my previous game, and they were absolutely disgusting. So I'm really glad to see a Shaco get removed. But as you previously alluded to there, the Vayne is removed. Yep. That respect is shown. And I feel like a respect has to be shown in this game. There can be no flippant bans or no flippant picks. Everything is meditated to the highest degree to get, hopefully, the best composition for your team. But as we can see, picks and bans coming out. Ooh. And speaking of picks, that was a quick pick indeed. The Nautilus, they're absolutely looking to take there on the side of the Pirates.
Yep, Dragons previously played this Nautilus, picked it in their first round as well on this side. So clearly some contention here for that Nautilus. If I recall correctly, old friend Gizmo here is probably going to be the one piloting that Nautilus unless they get a bit Doinby with it. So, of course, with that information, it seems the Dragons are looking to reply, as the red side does well, and try and answer really this Nautilus, and the look there of the Braum makes a lot of sense to me, and that Xayah makes a lot of sense as well, just within the meta. You've already taken away the Jinx, which is one of the I feel like better matchups into Xayah. Has the fish bones to try and poke her out and go more even in that lane and make her a little less vibrant coming out of that laning phase, but the Braum is going to hopefully secure that Xayah that place, depending on, of course, what Pirates pick for this bot lane. And of course, as we mentioned, Pirates did drop cut the roster there on Ringo, who is presumably piloting this Xayah. So whatever you pick here in this bot lane is going to be exciting to try and one-up each other, right?
It really, really is. And I'm excited to see what they pull through here on the Pirates. They did play Philios last game with the Nautilus, so we could see something similar come through here. But what we can be certain about is Jarvan being locked in there, probably for the jungle. So already an incredible amount of lockdown coming out on the side here of the Pirates, and they continue that lockdown trend with a Frozen Tomb there on Asandra. Yep. So really excited to see how much they're really relying on a CC lockdown on a high value target. It could be that Xayah does have a great ultimate to get out of potentially the Cataclysm, an impending ultimate from Nautilus, but the Frozen Tomb is a bit difficult to get out of. There's a very nice point and click there, which is great to have that in your back pocket, because, of course, having an AD carry that can get out of most CC is incredibly good to have. Syndra being picked in here in response to that Lissandra, a common matchup. 2 control mages here in the middle side of that map. Nothing too crazy here. As we can see, equal, picks and retorts here from both sides of the draft. So, still no AD carry picked up here for the Pirates. But they'll head into the next phase of picks and bans here. Bans are coming now. Kai'Sa bans, as we can say, there is no AD carry picked here for the Pirates. They're looking towards that bot side of the map, thinning out that champ pool. There's already a Vayne, already a Jinx, and already a Kai'Sa banned there. Yep. So, it's looking slim pickings, but the Philios, as we talked about a little bit earlier, was picked last game for the Pirates on stream. It could come out again.
Could come out again. It definitely had a perfectly good performance. It's going to be an unban, it seems, in the end. I don't know if the teams have an understanding what that should have been, or if it is just entirely missed, but it could be punishing, especially as we mentioned, this is best of one. If that ban would have been a champion that now takes over the game, you're going to be a little bit upset about it, but that's going to have to wait and see for the result before we extrapolate into that one. Fiora and Camille taken away, trying to make sure that this top lane gets the better matchup as possible here on the Dragon. So presuming here they're going to blind their top and leave counter pick here for jungle, but they have already got information on the jungle, so I should expect instead jungle, and it's going to be that Graves locked in.
Absolutely. And we can look back to the previous game for the Dragons. They did vie into it all in the top lane. A nice solid rock to have up there. Yeah. And indeed, the solid rock comes out again. He's a very, very solid top laner to have on the top side of that map. Has a brilliant, brilliant ultimate. But, you can just stack health. And having that beefy frontliner alongside the Nautilus, potentially the Draven as well, is absolutely brilliant. But the Trundle can prove a little bit difficult when it comes to smacking up these tanks. But they're looking to vie against that, potentially locking in the Jace here. Have to wait and see what they lock in. And they have indeed locked in the Jace there. So Jace probably heading towards that top lane into the Ornn. It might mean a difficult time for this Ornn being poked out in the ranged matchup, but we'll have to wait and see, because there can be some lovely combinations with the Jarvan and the Ornn when they look towards the top lane of this map. But the Twitch locked in as the AD carry, I would argue towards the lower pecking order of AD carries in terms of strength in the current meta. But, not to say that you can get some good, invisibilities coming out and manage to away and deal an incredible amount of damage in a very short amount of time. So we'll have to see if that goes out. I'm quite surprised about it, but as you say, there wasn't a lot of AD carries to pick from in that draft, so potentially good there for Ringo Starr though on that Xayah.
Indeed, right? And I feel like looking at this heavy dive composition from the Pirates, the Xayah has a lot of happy pickings, right, with these feathers. Able to fly in the air, got the Braum to create some distance as well. So it's quite hard for me to gauge these compositions, right? Because the Twitch is kind of an unknown quantity. This could be something that's very explosive and unpredictable. Of course, with the invisibility, there's a lot you can play around with here. Break out gaps of vision. However, Graves, I'm expecting to perhaps take Umbral. Jace is going to be able to throw shock blasts in any which direction. It's going to make actually the approach here for Twitch quite difficult. So a lot of the weight here is on this engage. But I feel like, again, because the Xayah can disengage, because the Syndra can scatter, Braum is literally a meat shield in some cases. It can be difficult, I think, for the Pirates to lock this team up here on the Dragons. However, that doesn't mean that it's impossible, right? You have so much CC, in fact, that some of it has got to stick. It's just a case of coordinating your team to make sure that these ultimates coming out from Lissandra, from Nautilus, and from Ornn are all coordinated, making sure they're all in the right time, making it impossible here for the Xayah to land on the other side of the Featherstorm. So
absolutely, and I think it's worth mentioning we've had a message from production. The last ban actually was Jax, so they did ban out a champion, but it has, of course, they've locked in the Ornn, which I can imagine they were looking at going towards an Ornn anyway. But as strong as Jax is in the meta right now, that's not a shoddy ban at all, because he can be an incredibly menacing champion, and as we know, can just leap strike and counter strike seemingly endlessly when looking towards the middle game, the middle part of that game. But Ornn there, of course, a very great option to have as a second pick there. But I'm very excited to head into this game. As we alluded to, this is going to be a tight game. This is not going to be an easy game for either of them. So I'm really excited to see where almost these micro advantages are going to be coming from. I don't think we'll get these humongous only 2 plates taken or every tower taken games. It's going to be micro differences that are going to make the difference in this game. I imagine it could be a few hiccups from one side and, snowballs could occur, but I feel like this will be a more controlled, exciting game.
Yeah, if it's chaos with intent this time, right? And it's not just reactive pulling the trigger, everything behind the door, right? It's a case of there is a plan, which means we're going to be here before it happens, and therefore we then encounter the enemy here, and we are prepared for this because my support has backed me up and I'm not warding solo, right? It is a case of these teams are thinking about these wider movements on the map. They're thinking about the importance of objectives and power spikes and item spikes, and it should hopefully mean that we get an absolute banger out of this game. Sadly, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, as there has been an issue as they were recreating the draft, so it's going to take a little longer, but that just means we can dive a little bit more into this if you're happy to, Minicon.
Absolutely, more than happy to.
Good. So, talk to me about this Jace, right? Because we've seen a lot of Jace at the moment. We've not really quite talked about this Jace much. I expect it to have a happy lead here into this Ornn, but that does mean it is a pretty easy target for this Lissandra and this Jarvan just to walk up.
This is it. I mean, unlike that bot side of the map there, where you've got the Xayah that can disengage from a Jarvan gank, the Cataclysm is so easy to get out of. The Jace has slightly more more of a difficult time of getting away from ganks. Does have, of course, the acceleration gate for a little bit of movement speed. Does have the thundering blow to be able to knock any nemesis coming into that lane, but they're almost kind of negligible when it comes to especially the Sandra gang, who can get in with her E, root him up, frozen tomb him, and he's, that CC there might be plentiful. At which point you've got the Ornn, who can very easily land his Q into his E, and again we can't disregard the flag and drag, which for Jarvan is, honestly, I've not seen it before too often, but for the past few weeks, especially come Worlds, the flag drag into a very quick timed flash.
Yeah, those flashes ones have been nuts.
Completely change where this flag and drag is going. You still get the knock up there, so it's difficult to get away from any of these ganks that come his way. Not to say Jarvan doesn't have means of getting away. But we'll have to see how much priority is considered in this top lane. It will, I imagine, be strong-sided for this Jace, who's going to have a lot of pressure, potentially a lot of jungle presence as well with the Graves, who between them can dish out very large amounts of damage in almost seemingly seconds. With the acceleration gate into the shock blast. So we'll have to see where the teams decide to give their attention and give their presence. Pre-6, though, towards the bot lane might be a juicy angle to take it. Post-6, maybe more difficult. But I feel like a flashless Jace, rather, is a really, really good situation to be in if you're on the side of the Pirates. You want to be looking topside. And the good thing about Twitch, if they decide to sack a little bit of the wave down bot lane, on a recall can maybe head towards top lane and be completely out of the awareness and vision of the dragons. The Twitch can skittle over in and manage to land a slow, and that might be all it needs there for the Ornn to land any subsequent CC. So there is means of getting this Jace behind. Will have to be dependent on the team, though. We'll see if they'll edge into wanting to minimize that aggression from the Jace. But early on, you'll have a good time. You'll have a good time in that top lane. But I'm excited to see how much resources they'll consider for that top lane.
Yeah, the longer I look at this draft, right, the deeper it goes. So here's my line of thought here, is that dragons only have one reliable form of engage, and this is Glacial Chasm from the Brawlmall, right? Otherwise, they're relying on chip and harass between Grave skirmishing and dodging around, and of course Shock Blast from Jace. Scatter the Weaks is the half-reliable engage, right? Which means you have to be at the objective first, which makes it hard for Twitch to approach, but it does make it a lot easier for Jarvan, Lissandra, and Ornn to engage, because you're going to be back against a wall facing the objective, right? Or stuck in the river. So I'm then concerned as to why Pirates have locked Twitch and Ornn into Braum, because Braum shield can mitigate an Ornn shield. You then think harder about it, right? Is that if Ornn presses R and Braum presses E, Twitch now has free reign to fire rat-a-tat-tat at everyone because Braum has thrown his shield the wrong way and or is stood at the back of the party. So there is a lot in terms of execution with these compositions as well, because the other important thing to note about Braum is that he wants to be putting his passive down, because both Graves and Jace almost combined their names. Grace. Well, it's quite nice. Graves and Jace are going to be stacking that Winter's Bite up on these targets. And if Jarvan gets Winter's Bite on the edge of his flag and drag, he's probably not going to live long enough for a Cataclysm, right? Twitch is not going to live long enough for anything should he get Winter's Bitten, Shock Blasted, or whatever, right? He's the most fragile and important target for this team. Frozen Tomb is able to save Lissandra as the other damage threat on this composition from a Scatter the Weak or a collateral damage, but it is not going to be enough in the face of the wider poke. So I think, to me, Pirates are going to have to be very smart about the tools they use, because they are holding all the engage cards. It just means they can't linger around one of these objectives, so the dragons are going to have to skirmish, and their composition is good at that, so they can get ahead, so that they can outperform Pirates in these fights, because I think they could lose, because they have all this disengage, but it does mean you're going to have to fight back into this fight.
Absolutely, and I love there what you mentioned, Brett, about that Braum being such a brilliant pick here into this game. As you say, the Ornn, the Twitch can be almost kind of mitigated there with just one simple Unbreakable being placed up. However, it relies there, of course, as you say, that the Pirates having to almost do a pincer and have one maybe come from one side, the other come from the other, At which point, of course, Braum can't have 2 shields up because that would be disgusting. His name would be Yasuo, possibly, and be able to win wall on either sides. Who knows? But the way I look at this is creativity from the Pirates. Twitch does have invisibility. He is able to get into a position where the Braum is not facing, or the Braum is already placed an Unbreakable in one direction. There are means to kind of work around this Unbreakable on the Braum, but it's a really great pick, and it will require the Pirates to possibly think more creatively than the Dragons need to with their composition.
Yep.
But we'll have to wait and see. I'm so excited, though, and as we finally head into this game, and as things start to take shape now, we can actually say, look towards these runes, look towards these summoners,
Yep.
and as we notice here, Flash, Exhaust, Flash and Ghost here for both AD carries. Very, very suitable picks there. You know, they are rather immobile outside of Zaya's R, outside of Twitch's Q, which is not instant. They are rather immobile. So having that Ghost is always a good addition. But I feel like even without Flash, and they do have Ghost up, I think they're still a pretty good target to look towards a gank. So, you know, but always good to have that additional in your back pocket. But here, nothing too crazy to start this game off. But there is a red ward placed here by the top side behind the Baron pit. See if any potential invades or potential there for the Jarvan to take Raptors. We'll have to wait and see, but nothing too crazy to start off here. And, well, I'm not going to lie. I love the fact that they've got T1s in their name on the side of the Pirates.
We know what their pickings are.
Icon on, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And the coordination is brilliant. It's brilliant, honestly. And, yeah, they've got the summoner icons on that they bought from Wales this year. And nice addition to have that in your name. Why not? And who knows, that coordination is what they need this game. So
yeah, I bet they all have the same ward skin as well, right? It's I'm impressed they haven't all gone for the same skin line, but I suppose there isn't one that convenes across all of them. But no, I love what you're saying here, right? It is that kind of group mentality that they're showing here. Love to see it here from the Pirates, banding together. It makes sense for a group of Pirates. They've been stuck on this ship a long time. They're going to change their name all to be the same, and that's a commitment, right? That's one less chroma when the Blue Essence Emporium comes around next, paying for that name change. So big respect there, and it seems that these teams, at least we haven't got any action yet. This time we had a flash blown, at least, so good respect there from the bot lane here on the Pirates, backing up, recognizing that they don't have the priority in this lane at that level 2 point anyway. We've got some fair exchanges here, first strikes in mid. It's good to be on the Rift.
It really, really is. No, it's been unfortunate with the delays, but I'm sure it'll all be worth it in this incredibly exciting matchup. And speaking of matchups, I mean, I know Gizmo. He's a brilliant support, and I'm sure you'll agree, Brett. You know, there are great potential for Gizmo to land some beautiful hooks and some really well-placed ultimates, and I'm really excited to see how that all goes to plan, because we've talked a lot about the Braum.
Yep.
We can't disregard the player piloting this Nautilus is a very talented player indeed. So we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out, of course. But right now it is being rather slow, surprisingly, possibly. There is a push towards the top lane in the favor of the Pirates. But this does mean the Graves here can look towards the top lane.
Yeah, Jace spent a lot of his health bar freezing this wave. We'll see if it comes up clutch, because there is a Graves, as you say, walking in. It drops the smoke screen down. The acceleration gate going to give Graves the movement speed, and the ward in that bush is going to give him the utility to continue to attack and punch this on. The double bust and the red buff slow is going to prevent Johan from getting back to his tower in such a race. The Unstoppable may have just killed him there from the walk. He's going to throw up an emote because he knows he's out now. Jace taking the worst of wear for it. Don't even get a summoner out of this on. He's able to hold both, but it is good awareness there from the Dragons that you have Graves coming to the top side to throw up a freeze. It's just a case that Ornn is definitely got 2 legs to get out, but we're not wasting any time as the Pirates look to reply, and the hook, as you say, from Nautilus can be clutch, and he's able to hook back on the zone as Braum taking the punch in exchange for that one. The poison and the tick there from Twitch is not going to be enough. No expunge range there in exchange for the Braum, but someone is spent from the carry in exchange for the Nautilus, which you're pretty happy about.
And it's so good here to see the tier picked up here for the Jace, because it was ever so unfortunate, as much as, you know, that the health was low on that gank there from Graves on the Jace, so they couldn't have much of a follow-up, but they also lacked mana, so no Sonic Blast managing to come, or Shock Blast, sorry, being able to come through the acceleration, getting a last minute pick off. It just was not enough mana. So hoping not to be in that situation again and caught with their tail between their feet, and hopefully have a nice little equal match in this top lane, because I can imagine wave states will be controlled a little bit more here now as things start to ease off a little bit. But nothing's happened just yet. A few summoners popped, no kills just yet, which for what we've experienced recently, Brett, is calm.
Yeah, is that measure that we were hoping for, right? No kills yet, 5 minutes. I think this the slowest we've gone in 4 games, which is I think what we're happy to see. Also, the feathers here just going wide there onto Legacy, able to get some of that damage back. Good news here for Pirates is that because of those summoners here are burnt on the Zai that we were just talking about then, means that this dragon, as it has spawned Ocean as well, which is going to be great for the Ornn and for the Lissandra inside these lanes. You can see the Nautilus making sure that Lissandra can get this push, and it looks like they're thinking about it. Bot lane's going to have to back up here because they recognize that Lissandra is missing, as well as that Nautilus. Graves is leaving that bot side. They're not as safe as they once were. So angles here for Pirates as the Java works his way towards bot lane to pick up that early Drake because of those summoner advantages and the map movements the players are already thinking about it, which is great to see.
It really, really is. You know, being mindful of these objectives that crop up on the map and having a team retort and answer for them is just so promising to see. But, you know, I like to see here the Syndra picking up the blasting one, but also the Dark Seal. Is there potential here to concentrate some of the resources towards the mid lane and give this Syndra a good opportunity to start stacking that Dark Seal? We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, Johan here, unable to hit the knockout. Searing Charge, as you say, a little wide. Slams here from the Jace. Horn of the God being thrown down. Knock up here onto 2 Graves. Dashes into it, and he's just going to be able to walk away again, I suspect. Hook here from Norton is going to keep him safe away from the Winter's Bite. So some damage advantages here onto the side Dragons, but I don't think anything substantial enough to make any gains for it.
And it's ever so unfortunate that Dragons are committing a bit of resources towards that top lane, and the Graves coming top. But still,
here,
no
the
flash
Ignite is
use,
to revive. First blood going the way of Braum as the Winter's Bite comes down, but his Legacy God, rat-a-tat-tat, as we say, putting those spears in the back of Ringo Starr, and the Expunge is definitely enough to keep him down. And Connor happy to walk away with that refilling potion, but not so happy walking away. Not at all is that Ringo Starr. And in the meantime, it is Jarvan taking up this Ocean Drake.
Absolutely no AD carry means it's quite difficult to look towards that dragon, and they're very happy to take that dragon indeed. That little bit of statty goodness that you get from the Ocean Drag, keeping you a little bit topped up in that lane, is always promising to have. You will not be sad to take that at all. So the Pirates there taking up the first dragon of the game. And the first objective is taken, and I'm sure they're happy to take that indeed. But ever so unfortunate there from Gizmo, getting the hook, and it just backfired. But really good there to see Legacy God to be able to just nail just enough of those stacks into, as you say, the back of Ring the Star to be able to expunge it and pick up a kill. So, you know, still 1-1 in the kills.
Whoa, as I was thinking, it happens. There's an engaged flash, as you say, from Jarvan. It's Gizmo that picks up this kill. The Aftershock proves that hook lands. It's a kill there from the Pirates. I love seeing that punish there from Minion Rusher, recognizing the Scat of the Week is down, and that's a free Frozen Claw access plus Frozen Tomb onto that Syndra. Jarvan in the waiting wings with the Flag and Drag as well. So good recognition there from Pirates where there is an angle with that wave shove too. Is keeping that Lissandra now part in farm. We'll say as well, in terms of Drakes that could have been for the Dragons, Ocean's potentially the worst. I mean, Jace is not already doing too well in this matchup. Down CS, where he has been ganked twice by this Graves into an Ornn, is not a fantastic look. Speaking of fantastic looks, is Gizmo hooking his way out of there, like Spider-Man, so they say, with that hook after getting rooted. So yeah, I think for the Pirates, this early Ocean Drake's a good place to be in, and exchanging first blood onto Braum for a 300 gold on your Twitch, you're pretty happy with there as well. Plus that now pick in the mid lane, looking comfortable.
Absolutely. They just take out that Tribush ward there on the side of the Pirates. Jarvan is bot side. Maybe potential gank, but it might be proving quite difficult. As we say, there is a lot of disengage here on the side of that bot lane, but as we say, that Jarvan, we predicted quite a nice bit of aggression and having the wave state in his favor, but it hasn't managed to pan out like that at all. A little slight CS advantage to the Ornn, And the Ornn will be happy there to have this lane pushed up in such a way, being able to build his own items and never having to really sacrifice that wave state and always kind of be the arbiter of that wave. But already proving difficult. But there's got quite a lot of armor, and the Barmy Cinder does bend the Forge God, the flash.
Flash away, as you say, from the corner of the Forge God is going to keep Jace safe as the teleports become unleashed, but that is Summoner again, exchange for the ultimate. Ornn's pretty happy to continue to win this lane, even in the face of that Dirk, as you mentioned. That Chain Vest plus Bammy's doing absolute work in this top side, and of course, plus that Ocean Drake, he's happy to sit in that lane as long as possible and just continue to absorb gold and turn it into items, and eventually mythic items, which is a point we've not yet discussed, which is perhaps why Graves is looking to attack this lane again. There's no ultimate on the side, and no purchase again onto this on that Chain Vest, as we say, doing bits against this double AD top side.
And it's a shame. I mean, like I said, Graves has been top so many times, but I don't believe the Ornn has had to use his flash once. And that's got to be demoralizing there for the side of the Dragons. And the good thing is, even if he does have to use a flash, even if he does have to back, he's still got his TPs to come back into lane and continue what he was doing. So this is an unfortunate position here for the side of the Dragons. But Lissandra here in the bot lane
about it, the Dragons, about their
nothing comes from it.
Unfortunate situation. Good Dark Spear leading it ahead. Waits for the Searing Charge to land the scatter. Ball not quite in the right position, but the slows comes down. There's the scatter of the weak stun here onto Johan. The unleashed power and collateral damage is absolutely enough. Syndra picking that one up. A good place for that one to land, recognizing that Lissandra has left the lane for too long, thinking too hard about this bot lane and unable to find purchase. It is the Dragons getting back on the board.
Oh no, it's ever so unfortunate. The collateral damage, oh, it always goes further than you might expect, but there it is. The flash is used by the Ornn, and unfortunately it does not keep him safe. But there it is, the Sunfire Cape picked up for the Ornn as he comes back to lane and continues, I'm sure, to be a menace for TP in the top lane. Jace does vie to walk back to lane, meaning there is the potential for a TP to be used on the opposite side of the map. We'll have to wait and see how they go for that. There's about 45 seconds left here on the Dragon respawn. There is a potential for the Jace to use the TP to come towards that bot lane, but it does leave that Ornn happy on his own in the top lane, and I'm sure he will not be sad about that at all. Getting more CS, more gold, and just managing to extend this lead he might have in terms of the wave state and the aggression. Look at that.
Yep,
getting the Demonis proc off despite the Jace being there, giving him a smack.
Yeah, it's a good place for Ornn to be and getting play. It's not what we, I think, expected coming into this draft whatsoever. So good showing here from Johan to be putting a gap in this top lane that we did not anticipate for. A good chip here from Admiral's going to put Minion Rusher in a back foot here as we approach the Dragon. The Herald had been taken after that play on top side as well, looking to steal a couple more plates and gain some wave priority, although there isn't a wave available. It is just going to be a dead Herald, potentially a dead Minion Rusher here, but we have pushing advantage as Graves walks in here. Jarvan able to match now for level, smiting away that Shikin push back. That's now some deep wards and the blue ward spent shallow into their jungle as the Drake is spawning. Collateral damage used defensively, but it is the ultimate being used offensively. Bonzinja mitigated as the Cataclysm comes down to try and punish the flash coming away, as well as the rest of the team arrives. It's a Mercury TP dunk here from Jace, who's able to get the first kill back on the side of the team. There's no Ornn available. It's for the side of Pirates as they look to take the rest of their members away. Ooh. Oh, the Frozen Claw is not enough as Jason Graves are able to sweep up a triple kill, in fact, for that Graves with that Black Cleaver in his pocket already. The item advantage there for that team as they walk to the other side is just in their favour. TP reply from Admiral as he finds his way into the top side and finds a way to give the on the 300 guard. He's get one back on the board, but a good recognition from Dragons there to flex the advantages that they have before that Drake.
Yeah, no, good to see the Dragons there. You know, use the Syndra TP to answer that Ornn, but the Ornn just decided not to get answered. And he is looking incredibly strong there. But great there to see the Graves pick up a triple kill. The Jace get a kill as well, as we see that TP getting used towards that bot side of the map and be able to use that TP advantage in the favour of 4 kills being picked up there. And yeah, I think that's needed. The Graves needed a couple of kills. The Jace needed a couple of kills. They're incredibly strong champions when ahead. They have a lot of damage, but if there's no damage to dish out, they can be quite useless. So that's good to see gold fall into their pockets. I'm sure they'll be happy with that. But Braun potentially looking caught out here.
Looking caught out here, but Graves happens to be in the vicinity as well. Flash away Twitch here from the Glacial Chasm. Has to pop his spray and pray, but he is basically praying away the pain here. Graves using the collateral damage, just eats up by Gizmo, who's just short there on the hook onto Ringo, but it is both of Ringo's Sun's burnt as well as that Graves' flash, so an exchange of summoners in the bottom lane.
Absolutely. It could have looked like it could have gone the opposite way there and looked like the Pirates were there and on the front foot because that amazing kite potential you have from the ultimate on Twitch gives you such large range and you can just carry, turning back, attack step in and getting so much damage out to just be enough damage to just, you know, wave them off that continued assault. But as we can see here, a lot of damage being put down here onto the bot lane. First tower gold already taken on the side of the Pirates thanks to that Ornn continuing that aggression and taking that tower in the top side. But really promising to see this bot lane manage to hold their own despite what we were saying to be an unfortunate or a weaker matchup with that AD carry. But they're making it work well indeed. And it's very exciting to see, honestly, just how well this Ornn's doing. Look at this. The armor stacking is coming through, as we say there. The steel caps, the sunfire. There's a lot of armor on that Ornn.
He's beefy. I don't know if it's possible, Observer Way, to get a quick switch over to the gold whilst we're in this little bit of a lull, and some of this gold is coming back as it seems that Dragons look to want to get this tower, but it is Invisible Legacy, who's going to be backed up by this Jarvan flag, dragged to close the distance. Cataclysm available is spent. Featherstorm available still for that Xayah, but no ultimate. Does dodge out on the Depth Charge and pulls the feathers back straight through the Jarvan, but it's going to be replied instead, and that's kills there for Legacy God, finally landing a double for himself. And in the top side instead is Johan getting pushed back under the tower. Flash forward, able to kill the Jace in the 1 vs 2, but it is now this Black Cleaver Graves who can do the damage that Jace could not, looking to chip and trade away, but he's using the mini wave to his advantage, has grass procs as well as those brittle plus Searing Charge with that knockup. Again, smokescreen being used down on cooldown. Here's Syndra, that's magic damage, you haven't got defenses for those, and now is a great time to toggle back and take a look at this goal because things are changing up. That top side is definitely very far ahead. This bot lane is coming out ahead as well, which is pretty much where you wanted the gold looking at this draft here for the side of Pirates. It's just a surprise in this top lane, and it's almost, I wanted to say, a disadvantage before this broke out, because you would love to swap your bot side into top side so you can take that top tower and get this Rift Herald. However, because that top tower is already gone, there is not a lot for Legacy God to farm safely. Are able to get that bot tower instead, making that play, so that bot lane is now unlocked as well as getting that second tower, so it's all good here for the Pirates, but changing a couple of kills in that top side. So what can they do with it as they face check here into the bush? They're down members as all of them are here, but there is instead a flank TPs from the Frozen 2 straight into the back lines. It's a mess all across the fight, but is Ringo Starr now arriving? What can he do? Remember, no Featherstorm available, no summoners either, and he's just going to get chased down by the Thralls and the rest of the members of the Pirates as they clean up the front line for this Ringo. He is the star, and he is knocked out at last. Graves unable to get too much done in the fight, able to keep his bounty alive, but it is not going to be the case for this Rift Herald as it's soon to perish, and it's going to be the Pirates taking up that juicy purple gem.
And that's exactly what we were hoping for and exactly what was needed on the Pirates. Creative engagement. That pincer play was perfect there from the Lissandra, managing to come in from the backside, get the Frozen Tomb, get the roots. That's exactly what they needed, dishing a lot of AoE damage there, managing to turn the tide of that fight there, and the Pirates look to get their second standing beautiful neutral objective there with the Rift Herald. I'm sure they'll be very happy with that. But yeah, looking towards this Graves has now got the Gore Drinker, which will give him some more sustainability, which is brilliant. But I feel like he'll be wanting a little bit more armor penetration if the gold allows, because he was having a hard time against that Ornn. And now the Ornn has gone in for the Jaxo, managing to just keep him a little bit tippy-toppy in these engages, because the Jaxo will be sucking away and making it even more difficult for that Graves to deal the damage that he would like. But I imagine against any other of the squishier champions, it will be a lot of damage being coming out from this Graves 4-0 still. But really, really exciting things happening here now, potentially, with this dragon being spawned. It's a mountain dragon. The Pirates did just take the Rift Herald. They put it bot. They used this as a means of hopefully thinning out this wave, putting in a bit of a situation on the hands of the Dragons. Do they retaliate on the mid push? And it looks like they'll just decide to let that mid push go. and the pirates look like they're going to have a really nice chance of taking this dragon as well. So we're really starting to see opportunities come through where the gold advantage could start to balloon very, very quickly. Lovely Rift Herald taking the mid tower. Looks like they're going to get this mountain dragon as well, giving them 2 dragons. And it means that they've got only 2 more dragons to go to secure this mountain soul. And as we know, mountain soul gives you a shield, gives you resistances. Do we want that on the Ornn?
No,
I mean, if you're the Ornn, you absolutely do. But if you're the dragons, you definitely do not want that Ornn to get mountain soul, because it'll be even more disgusting than it already is.
Even on the Jarvan, even on the Nautilus, as you say, right? It's potentially the worst drake the dragons could see go in the way of the pirates here. Not happy about that one, but I think appropriately giving up that dragon in this case, taking a look at these items. Yes, you have your Graves at 2 items, but he's the only one at 2 items. He's staying there across a masterwork mythic Ornn and a 2-item Twitch. It is probably not going to go your way. So it's a case of, even though when I stop and look at the gold, it is frighteningly even, much more than we'd expect. It definitely feels like the pirates are ahead, I think, to say. And it's basically to do with where this gold has landed. Yes, the Graves is ahead, but he's going to be in melee range of all of these targets he doesn't really want to be in melee range of. So it's going to be tricky here from out for the dragons, I think, to teamfight this, but I respect conceding the towers that they have to, conceding the objectives that they have to get to the point where they can fight it. It's just a case that window is going to be small, because pirates here, I predict, will outscale them, and when they're already ahead, that's trouble. And we said, I think, at the start that this draft kind of wants to skirmish a lot, and they skirmished, they just didn't really win it the way they wanted to, right? The Jace ended up behind. That's not the look you want for this Jace. Graves spent time in their top lane that wasn't quite successful, not great. They were able to find a triple kill around those objectives, and it's going to have to be exactly that again, catching the pirates off guard, making sure that they have the items and the damage to do it before those mountain drakes start stacking in the pirates' favor.
Absolutely, and it's a little bit of a state of some calm, maybe, where they start to plan a further advantage here on the side of the pirates. They look towards laying some vision here towards this Baron. Might be a bit early, it might be hard to take, but it is going to be a potential very, very soon in this game. As we say, we've had so many games in the Welsh Esports League that have ended so quickly, we never get to see any objective kind of setups. But there are a commitment here, and a lot of commitment from both teams here for the mid towards the top side of this map. No one's in either bot lanes. Is this a sign of the times that there is looking to be advantages made through the mid lane?
Oh, that's a great scatter as the ultimate comes down. It's a late stopwatch here from the Lissandra. See what they can do about punishing it, and they do. The Dark Sphere on the end of that one is so well timed. Ringo Starr having to create some distance as the ult comes down from the Nautilus. Call of the Fallen God also coming down. That is the Braum taking out. It's most of the front line gone for the side of the Dragons, and it is most of the members of Pirates getting elated. And a triple kill here already for Legacy. He is showing his mastery here on the Twitch today, chasing for the Shock Blast. Dodged away from it is the 2 damaging members here on the side of the Dragons, left alive, looking to staunch this wave. Johan is looking to staunch the tower, and the chances that Dragons have 4 members alive. Baron on the board, no smite to defend, but it is a hook. Follow forward with that flag and drag, unable to connect. It's Jace going in as well. He punches his ticket into the face of Jarvan, and it's going to get himself a double kill as well, but it is in the end an ace for that Twitch, who is now so menacingly ahead at 8-1.
He really, really is. This Twitch is getting away with it right now. And as we can see, the items that he's gone for the Runans. He had the Borg there, and just had a timeout during that fight, but has now upgraded it to the Hydra. But those items mean that no one is free. The timeout is proccing on the Runans. The Borg is proccing very, very quickly with the attack speed he's got already. It's dangerous, it's scary, and with the front line they have here on the Pirates, the Ornn and the Jarvan, and at a later point, the Nautilus managed to come back into the fight after the depth charge coming out. It meant that this Twitch had a cushion of protection that he could just free fire, and that's the position you want to be in as a Twitch. You're managing to free fire just a bit like this. The red buff, the Borg is coming through, the movement speed is very low for Ringo Starr, but it is just enough to get away.
Just enough as well. Con there, as well as Atrof in the vicinity, just to make sure that doesn't go any further than they wanted to, which is, of course, the death there on that Xayah. Is in no position really to fight this Twitch, as we highlighted. He is just incredibly far ahead, and the Ring of Frost is going to be closing that far ahead gap that this Graves has. That 4 bounty is long gone, and it looks like he's going to be worth 300 gold as soon as they pick him up, but he's able to get away thanks to this Braum, who's able to block a hook from the Nautilus as well. But those Titanic Runance procs, as you mentioned, that Spray and Pay is going to pick up the double again for Legacy God here. The Frozen Thrall is going to just throw insult to the wounds there as they now look to turn already to this Baroness of Eldrazi. He's wasting no time. He's only looking at objectives, but I say that and I take a look at his score. He's got 11 assists, 12 out of the 17 in this participation. It is a show here from the Pirates as to why they're Pirates, because they are ransacking these dragons, taking their loot, and the Purple Worm is the next prize in their collection.
They really are finally looking at this Baron. It was so dominating there from that first team fight, managed to get an ace. They didn't manage to feel quite lucky just yet to get the Baron, but they managed to pick up a few kills there, and they're saying, you know what, our luck is absolutely in our favor right now. Let's go take this big purpley worm-looking thing. And they now have a great Baron in their back pockets now, giving them a lot of great stats, an empowered recall, and of course great empowerment to their waves, which the Twitch isn't wasting any time doing, empowering that top wave and getting a push in towards that Jace now coming to answer it. But this, you know, despite the advantages that the Pirates have, it's not at all insurmountable for the Dragons. They picked up there that second Mountain Drake on the bot side, and they're managing to keep the gold within about 3,000 or so gold. Not awful.
Yep.
Quite well considering. But with this Baron, it could be a case where this gold starts to split away from the tether that it has right now in terms of similarities towards the Dragons. So hopefully the Dragons can weather this storm, because the way that team fights have been going without the Baron, it can only get worse with the Baron. Yeah. So hopefully they can weather this storm, as we say. But absolutely perfect there from the Pirates right now. Really noticing when they had the opportunity to take that Baron.
Oh no, that's a great hook there from the Nautilus. It is a follow-up here from Jarvan, but he's now out of line with the rest of the team. But it's now Legacy God open to free fire, dodges away from the down away. No collateral damage can land. He's even flashing forward over the wall. Double kill already for Legacy God, and it's the rest of the team there ready to follow up. The Baron minions under this tower, they find a hook and they run away with it. Pirates absolutely, I guess, barbaric in this sense. They're now waiting for Johan to step forward, does so. Under this tower, the Baron minions are going to come in as well and take away that backdoor bonus. That's the inhibitor. And with the timers, what are they? 26, 25 seconds on that Graze. Braum up in 10. No ultimate available for either. No ultimate available for Ringo Starr or Summoner. Ghost coming up soon. They might just be able to take it away, this one, so quickly, so suddenly. Yes, they had a lead, but this Baron buff is in fact going to be walked away from. They've had enough, and they'll take their tower and leave. Thank you very much.
Ah, look at the Twitch flashing forward, going, yep, I'm pretty confident taking those kills. Had the pickaxe, had the rage knife, of course. He's built into the Gitsus.
Yep.
And that damage is going to be, well, quite frankly, disgusting.
And
with I imagine the Masterwork item coming through next to the Twitch, that's going to be even more damage on the Ginsus. And it's, that was his first mythic, so I imagine that's why it didn't come out sooner. Even more damage coming through, but the flag and drag.
Yeah, Jarvan, the only one left on the map here, almost gets away to safety, but is now on the safe side of the line of the river. And Dragons potentially found a pick there, but Jarvan being Jarvan, able to get away just in time before the worst could happen. Gets away, I think, with red buff as well, so he's pretty happy with his cheeky little lingering, I suppose, but it is now up to Pirates with the Baron buff expired to find a way to close. They have that inhibitor in the mid, so I expect them to be splitting across the map and letting those super minions do the work. And here's Johan here looking to take that mid wave. Is going to be caught out into trouble. Lissandra's looking to move down. No Forge God able to be recast, and it is now JC has 3 items that Surreal Disgrudge going to be doing work against that armor that had been previously stacked. In fact, he's going to be close to dropping is Johan, and it is a flash forward here from Minion Rush, a flash away from Jace, looking to return this one around, but the Frozen Tomb is excellent and traps Jace is in the skies, but he is in fact trapped amongst the ice, and it's Gizmo and Legacy God doing the work. Well, the other kind of work, getting the objectives, whereas the team are getting the kills on the other side of the map, and it is still Pirates finding ways to bring this game closer. Where it looked like Dragons had opportunity, Pirates steal it away from them.
Absolutely, and you know what? I think the Ornn was definitely caught out there in terms of positioning. piece ever so tanky. And as you say, the Jace only has the grudge there for any thermal lethality and armor pen, and it wasn't enough. Gizmo was there, of course, or rather, Con was there to land the stun, land the knockup, but it wasn't enough. It was enough time with the health that the Ornn had for the team to come and back him up. And as you say, the Frozen Tomb was gorgeous, and it was enough to lock down and get that Jace back at his Nexus for a respawn. And yeah, this is the problem. That Ornn is ever so tanky, and with little armor pen on the field, it's going to be so difficult to eliminate him. The Last Whisper is out there for the Graves. A clear respect for that armor on the side of the Ornn. And of course, some armor coming out on the rest of the team. There's Azonias, there's Steel Caps. There is armor, and of course, Thornmail there on Gizmo on the Nautilus. There's a lot of armor to punch through. So definitely noticing that and responding to it. And the Masterwork item, as we alluded to a bit earlier, is finally coming through onto Twitch. I think it's going to be disgusting.
Yep, and it's about to get a little bit more disgusting. As you mentioned, all that armor is about to get multiplied once again as they take away this second Mountain Drake of their own, one away now from Sol. I don't know if we'll see it complete, because I don't think the Pirates want to wait around for it. I've never known Pirates to be patient. I've seen enough of those films and series to know that they're just hungry, weird, little, bad-teethed people, like the ones you get in Plymouth. All offense meant. But it seems like they are not waiting around anymore. They are assembled with this minion wave here in the mid. TP having to be used by Jace to his Nexus Tower as the bot wave being pushed in here by Lissandra is going to be met by the rest of the members. We have 5 members in the bot side for the Pirates. We have 5 members in the bot side for the Dragons. And we have a hook that begins off the engage. The ultimate comes down on top of the altar of the Forge God. That's an ult from Braum that's going the wrong way as well. It is now into the backside as Legacy God goes unanswered as all the CC was spent on the front side of the fight. It means that he can get into the backside absolutely fine. That's a double, triple. I think he's looking for the quad, but Nautilus took it on the Graves. The Pirates ran away with it. They spent 1 member. They got 5. They got a quadra kill. They get the last base tower, and they get the Nexus to boot with it. And it's the Pirates sweeping away the Dragons in our best game yet, and I loved it.
Were they going to wait for the soul? You're absolutely right, Brett. They did not want it. They were looking straight down towards that mid lane, and they absolutely ended it in a beautiful fashion. Absolutely gorgeous gameplay there from the Pirates. The Ornn was unkillable. The Twitch was incredibly overpowered, getting so many gorgeous items that allowed him just to stay in the back and spray away. So, it has to go down to the draft there in the Pirates. A real clear back to front, allowing that Twitch to stay back, stay covered, stay safe, and dish out that immense damage, which, as you can see, I think they flashed forward 3 times. As a Twitch, having that aggression, having that safety and knowledge that you can just do that is incredibly, incredibly exciting. So there it is, our most exciting game, absolutely, meaning the Pirates top their group. They're not going against the Swans, who are looking incredibly, incredibly good. So hopefully they win their next game in the series with this momentum against the Robins. We'll have to wait and see, of course, next week. But what a brilliant game that was. Thoroughly enjoyed. Slow, paced, methodical, and eventually incredible.
I think incredible is a good way to put it. I love how you bring it back to the draft as well, right? Because we had a lot of time to talk about it and really break it down and chew into it. And I think we saw a lot of those things we discussed come to fruition, right? The big surprise being the Ornn being the winner in that lane, as well as eating so many ganks. And it feels like, to me, I was concerned about picking Twitch and Ornn into a Braum, but I think that last fight highlighted it super well. Braum has to throw the Unbreakable backwards, and he's engaging, he's frontlining into the front line, but Twitch is somewhere else. There's no scatter the week available to stop him. He's flashing forward and dodging around all these skill shots. Your team's having to kite back. Braum's the only one able to stand his ground. The Unbreakable doesn't go his way. He gets eviscerated. Ornn gets to land huge ultimate, and it's just a case of that from there, that team fight is swept. And it's, I think, what we highlighted again to really hammer home that point, that it was Pirates' execution of this draft that sent them home, right? It was Dragons having to constantly peel back to the point where it didn't mean they could deal this damage, to the point where it didn't mean they could deal with this Twitch. I loved how they played that mid-game around those Dragons, but it was a case that Pirates, able to find small advantages within these lanes, able to utilize that early Ocean Drake and make sure that this bot lane gets ahead, those early Jarvan ganks being much more successful than those Graves ganks. Not janks, almost said janks, that was wrong. But again, right, it is just a case that its composition executed early, it executed late. And although Dragons had some good looks, draft-wise and game-wise, they didn't have enough in the tank to take it out. But imagine that was a best of 3. Adaptations and drafts. We got some knowledge now, as of course we look towards these best of 3s because that's the end of our group stage. You already said Pirates now to be facing the Robins and Swans to be facing the Dragons here. Having seen the Dragons and the Swans today, I'd love to see their best of 3.
Absolutely, and I think the Dragons came out on the end of that one on the unfortunate end, but looking forward now at best of 3, they are incredibly capable and they managed to keep it toe to toe for a very large majority of that game going into best of 3. I think they're happy. I think they're confident.
Yeah.
It allows them to respond, react to what happens in the previous game. And I think that can only go in the favor of such a strong team mechanically. So hopefully they have a really promising showing come next week. But the Pirates, as we say, had such a great game plan. They executed it really, really well. And it allowed them to, despite only having minute advantages towards the beginning of that game, it really did start to snowball. And the advantages did start to become insurmountable, winning most, if not all, team fights. And that just meant that it was absolutely in the Pirates' back pocket, and they did not wait around. They went straight to that Nexus. They got it, and they're very happy to top Group A. So there we have it. 2 incredible games tonight. By far the best game we've had so far, but I'm sure will not be the best game that we've had for the entirety of Season 3 of the Welsh Esports League. We're coming into the best ofs next week. Very, very excited for that one, as we've alluded to a lot. I just want to get into them now.
Yeah, same, right? Like, why do I have to wait? It's the same budding feeling I now have for Worlds this weekend. I just want to see how this one goes. I think we only get to cover the one of the best of 3s. I think, personally, I'd love to see Swans and Dragons, because I think that one is potentially the closest. And I think because we've seen Swans and Dragons today, maybe I'm a little bit biased. I think I just actually really kind of respect Dragons for managing to keep that gold lead close, despite how the other game felt. So I'd love to see how they perform in that case against the Swans. And as you say, the best game we've had today, 2 games today. Hopefully we can get 3 games next week, no matter which one we cover. It would be excellent to see it go the distance. But of course, if I could choose, would hold that best of 3 or the full 3 games for the finals when it comes the week after. So if you're excited to see some more of that action, you can join us same place, same faces, same time next week for those best of 3 semi-finals as the teams begin to race up towards those prizes as well, of course. Thanks to Prevent for helping provide the coverage for this tournament as well. So I think there is a lot to be said, and I'd love to leave it to next week because I'm too excited for words. So if you're happy to hand off, we'll see you guys next week. So thanks from me.
And a thank you so much from me as well.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, I forgot last week, but I do really, really mean to thank the production, QT and Kuipeth behind the scenes as well. So thanks both to those. Thanks to EsportsWales. Thanks to Prevent. And thank you guys for watching. We'll take care, and you take care as well. Catch you guys next week.